Hello and welcome to our tutorial. So we're going to do two things today. We're going to look at two very simple sort of techniques to sort of clean up an image. So the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to take this good lady here, and we're going to look at what we can do to improve on this image here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So I'll click the zoom tool, click zoom in, make this a wee bit bigger. The first thing we're going to look at is her teeth and whitening her teeth. You can do this the same thing with eyes. Her eyes look quite sparkly and nice though, but her teeth, there's definitely a yellow sort of tinge off them that we'll try and fix. So before we do anything, we're going to right click on this layer. This is our layers palette here, and you can see that I can turn on and off the layer and she'll disappear. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to go duplicate. Now I've duplicated the layer, so we have exactly the same layer twice, and the one that's selected, the one that's blue, is the one that we're going to work on. So we're going to work on this top layer here. Now the tool we're going to work on is this one here. It's called Dodge and Burn, and Dodge and Burn is an old-fashioned term that used to be used when you developed photos in a lab to make things brighter and darker. So in effect what we're doing here is we're not actually changing the color of her teeth. We're just going to make them a bit brighter. So let's have a look at the tool here. So we've got a whole bunch of tools here. So this is the main one to go from Dodge to Burn. So one will make it darker, one will make it brighter. So I'm going to leave it on Dodge. And then this tool here sets the size of our tool. So we're going to leave it at that size there. So it's set to around 19. And I'm just going to draw onto this tooth here. And you can see it's got brighter. Now the advantage of using this tool over, say, a pencil tool and drawing is this is taking the actual colors in the image and just brightening them up, as opposed to painting new colors in. So it can be quite difficult to paint in the right color, as if you're slightly out, it'll look very artificial that it's added in. Whereas this tool here will allow us to basically brighten the colors that are already there. Now I'll brighten that bit in the middle. Now you can see as I'm using this that it's not just, it's brightening the red is going towards pink and then to white, and then these white and slightly yellow areas are going back towards white. So it's kind of brightening the whole area. And the most important part of this is a bit of subtlety. If we do it too much, it'll look very obvious. Now I'm just going to brighten her lip here. I'm going to undo it, but just to show you what's going on. So it's taking the color that already exists in the image and it's bringing it towards white. So I was going to undo those. So now I'm going to zoom back out. So I'm going to hit zoom out here, and we'll look at the image. And because we've got two layers, I can turn on and off this top layer, and you can see what we started with and what we're at now. So that's where we started, and that's where we're at now. So let's zoom back in on that and have a good look at oh, too far. So let's leave that there in terms of zoom, and then we'll just turn on and off these layers so you get a good look at the significant difference that it makes within a very short amount of time. So we'll just go in and we'll brighten that a tiny bit, and we could go back over and where we found any kind of yellow pieces or darker pieces, we could brighten them up a bit. So again, if we just turn on and off the layer, you can see the sort of the dramatic difference that it makes. And like I said, it's about spending a bit of time and being subtle with it. I'm sure you've all seen images that look very fake, where somebody has over compensated. So that's the first thing we're going to look at. So how to whiten teeth, and we're all going to have we're going to make an attempt to do that in class. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take Kate Blanchett here and go convert. So we're going to look at this image, And again, we're going to zoom in, and what we're going to do here is something kind of similar but different. We're going to leave her teeth alone, they're perfectly white already, but we're going to go back and we're going to duplicate the layer. So right click on the layer and go duplicate layer, and then with the top one selected, we're going to look at sort of not removing wrinkles, because that's not won't be believable, won't be, you know, it'll look very strange. Like, she has a huge big beautiful smile, and so, you know, her face is going to you know, you're going to have smile creases, etc. when you smile. So if we remove all of these, it will look strange. And also, you know, she's of a certain age that if there were no wrinkles on her face, it would look wrong. So what we're going to try and do is just reduce these a little bit. So the tool we're going to use for this is the blur tool. So I'm going to click on this one here. And again, there are two sort of main functions of this tool. There's blur and sharpen. Now, we're not going to use sharpen because that will make the problem worse if you indeed concede there's a problem, which there isn't. We're just looking at it as a technique. But the thing we're going to look at here is blur. Again, as we go through these tools, you'll see that there's lots of similarities in there in the options available. So again, we have the brush size. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And there we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look here. So it says we can smooth the stroke, and we have the quality of that, and then the weight. Okay, so how heavy we're holding the pen down. So if I put this all the way up here and I bring in a stroke and bring this back, it's basically a lighter stroke. Okay, now so what we're going to try and do is just remove, so you can see here there's sort of a dappled area, so we're going to try and remove that. And you're better off having a weak brush, so you can probably see I'm doing kind of multiple strokes here along an axis. So rather than one very large strong brush that will rid us of all of our detail, we're better off kind of having a graduated effect. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is kind of blend one part into the other, and we're trying to be you know, as subtle as we can when we're doing it, while still being effective. So again, we'll move over here, smooth this area a bit, and then just underneath the eye. Now if we remove all of these, as I said earlier, it will look very fake. It'll look very it won't look real at all. I was in the cinema the other night. I saw Kate Blanchett here in Thor, and they had done an awful lot of work in post-production on making her look younger and removing all sorts of wrinkles and lines. So it's quite an interest. So you can do this not just with on a still image, but you can do it in video as well. And then finally, what we'll do is we'll just have a look here at her neck and remove some of these imperfections here. Again, it's probably the wrong term, but these naturally occurring lines. Now, when will you need to do this? Well, if you are taking a photograph of a model that you've done your makeup on, and you have added too much in one particular area, or you're trying to basically just fix subtly something that you've put a line that is too thick or too hard in a particular area, and you want to make it look less intrusive or less obvious, then you can use this sort of technique here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out, and we're going to do what we did with the other image. We're going to kind of flick it on and off so we can see the changes that we've made. So on and off. So she still looks real. She still looks like Kate Blanchett in this version of it, but we've got rid of a lot of these harsh kind of lines here on the lower eyelid. And again, we haven't tried to remove all of the kind of naturally occurring creases, because if we were to, she would look like well, it just wouldn't look right. So again, the key to your success in doing this is to be subtle and not try and change everything. And if you are going to try and remove wrinkles on a person, you have to be sort of consistent and reduce them everywhere that's visible, not just in one place, or again that will look very artificial and very fake. Okay, so this is far from perfect, but we're just examining technique. And like I said, it's more for if you had over applied makeup to an area and you wanted to kind of smooth over an area, maybe there's cracks in the makeup, etc. Just this is the technique you would use. So you'd use the blur tool, and we would set its properties here and then brush over. Okay, that's enough for now.